Well, joining us for more perspective on the issue is right here in our Lagos studio, Ms. Modupe Ogunbayo, communications specialist. We'd like to thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
and from our Abuja studios, Mr. Segun Oshinaga, member of the APC Presidential Media Committee. Thank you for joining us on lunchtime this time.
My pleasure.
All right, so perhaps we should start with our guest here in Lagos, Ms. Ogunbayo. Why should we, what are your thoughts on especially the anti-hate speech law? What are the risks of not having that bill become law?
The anti-hate speech bill is anti-democratic. It's not well-intentioned. It's against the sensibility of any democratic inclined society. Because when you talk about anti-hate speech, it's very amorphous. We don't even know what constitutes hate speech to start with. And then already in Nigeria, there are laws in existence already in place against such speeches that you're concerned about. We have the defamation law, we have the libel law. So why are you so concerned about enacting a law against hate speech? Nigeria are already apprehensive about that because there is no way you can say people should not talk about another ethnic group. When I look at that bill, the composition of that bill states that people should be careful of what they say about a particular ethnic group. And there's undue emphasis on ethnic group, ethnicity. Is there any fear from any part of the country that the other people in the country are going to rise up about a particular ethnic group? Because if you cast your mind back, there has been some instability in the country. And when people were saying a particular part of the country were responsible for the spate of violence in Nigeria, they said we should not use the word describing that particular ethnic group. We should use herdsmen. Along the line, herdsmen too was cancelled and it became bandits. So is there any attempt to make sure that any reference to a particular group is criminalized? Because Yeti Allah said something recently, last week, that any state in the country that doesn't give or allocate space for their own pastoralist use, you would expect not to have peace. That in itself is anti-hate speech. Are you saying that if you now say that's a Fulani way of talking, by using Fulani, I'm entitled to be accused of hate speech?
Mr. Oshinaga, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a good idea as long as it does not violate the legitimate fundamental rights of Nigerians. There is no doubt that we are more than overdue for something like this. We've seen hate speech become an art by itself because of politics. Countries have gone to war over such things. The recent example is Rwanda. When it was not checked on time, it led to a full-blown war where people died, millions of people died. And therefore, it is important to have consequences for deliberate, mischievous hate speeches. Those who enjoy running down other people's
When you give
tribes,
example like the genocide in Rwanda, you almost begin to say, like you're saying that the situation we have in Nigeria is similar to that of Rwanda before the genocide. Is that where we are now?
Very close. Very, very close. The recently concluded election, I mean, the amount of hate speech, just because of political differences, what's criminal? I mean, a whole president of the country, some people came up with that he was dead and it was somebody from... There should be consequences for such careless and stupid statements.
So, Mr. Oshinaga, if you were to give us a definition of hate speech, how would you define hate speech?
Hate speech is any speech with political undertone that denigrates and insults other people's belief systems or their ethnicity, or whatever, for whatever reason that is said or that is written to disparage others because of where they come from. It's a hate speech.
Okay, now to you here in the studio, Modupe, there are several examples they've given. Other countries that also have these laws, but maybe different thresholds, maybe one higher and the other lesser. Don't you think sometimes the internet, there's a storm, and a lot of people say many things that you cannot even verify, and perhaps there needs to be some sort of regulation?
I put it to you, there is no democratic nation that has a law like that in place. You should have mentioned the nations that have such anti-hate laws in place. There is no nation, democratic nation that is, that has such a law in place as we speak. And then having said that, this internet space, the cyber space, the social media handles that we have, or social media accounts, the different ones, they have internal mechanisms in place to check such speeches. So when you make such speeches or post such comments, they pull it down immediately. There is no need for any nation to now decide to waste time and taxpayers' money on such frivolous bills. There are so many present issues affecting this nation that needs to be addressed. Why is this obsession with passing social media bill or anti-hate speech that has been going on since 2015? Since the advent of this administration, we have 3 or 4 attempts to pass this bill. Anytime it is shut down, they reintroduce it under another guise. Last year, they even went a step further when someone said, the person that introduced that bill said that the government agency should go ahead and spy on citizens' text messages. I mean, that is a direct example of the fact that this nation is descending into authoritarianism, because there's no free democratic state that allows such things to happen. The first indices that any person who wants to address how serious a nation's democracy is how free the media is in that particular nation.
Right.
If it is not free, then that means something is wrong somewhere.
Quickly now, Mr. Shinaga, would you say that your party is becoming quite unpopular with regards to some of these laws, this debate, saying that something like this, hate speech, the social media bill, a lot of people are not taking lightly to it, the civil society?
Well, I think the issue really is what kind of consequence should hate speech have? I mean, talking of death penalty or life sentence is absurd. It's way over the bar. I mean, that will be carrying it too far. But there should be some kind of consequence for those who mischievously attempt to set the nation ablaze. And there are all kinds of things people do, sponsored by politicians who lost elections or stuff like that. There should be some measure of consequences for participating in attempting to set your nation ablaze, but not death penalty, not life sentence, maybe some years of imprisonment. At least that will scare people enough not to tamper with that.
Okay. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Segun Shinaga, member of the APC Presidential Media Committee, for your thoughts. I'm sure you disagree totally, even with the law, not to mention the penalty. We'll appreciate your time, Ms. Modupe Gumbayo, communication specialist. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.